Hello, and thank you for joining us again on the Red Sisterhood Movement Show. You are with Lisa and Helen, your hosts, and just a very quick little snippet about why we created the Red Tent Sisterhood again. We created the Red Tent Sisterhood as a safe and sacred place for all women. All shapes, all sizes, it doesn't matter where you're from, what your beliefs are, whether you like to get really dressed up, or whether you like to be in baggy pants. Doesn't matter what you wear, we have a space here for you, a space to come together and heal together. Thank you for joining us. Today's topic is one that is really close to our hearts, so much so that we actually have um, two courses around this topic because we felt that it was one of the most important things to do and be in this human experience. And as we've gone on this journey of our own, ring the bell, authenticity, that's the topic for today. The universe keeps showing us more and more and more. And actually, as a child, it's part of their development and makeup to be able to be their authentic selves. So every time that we try and make a child conform, every time that we take a little bit away from who they are, we chip away at their self-esteem and their self-belief. Being your authentic self as an adult is trying to unlearn a lot of the core programming and rubbish that you were gifted as a child, and also relearn and reclaim who you are and your beliefs. I'm going to hand you over to Helen before I get really excited and ramble on and let her go first this time with her authenticity. Go on, Helen.
Thanks. I thought you'd forgot I was here. I was just like, this is interesting listening to Lisa talking for 45 days about being your true authentic self and just talking away. Cool, yeah. So authenticity, like Lisa said, it's something that but it's a topic we're passionately. Whoa, that's not.
Oh, I love that new word you've created, Shakespeare.
We're massively passionate. In other words, passionately. We're massively passionate about. Just because, well, not just because we have done a lot of the inner work that allows us to be our most authentic self every single day, and we also are massively inspired to help other people do that too. So for me, authenticity is being you, like the real you at the core of who you are. And my good friend Lisa would say, being the you before the world told you who you were. And I think that's it. What Lisa was mentioning about children there is that it's never intentional. It's never to suppress who somebody really is. It's just so that we can get through life and we're doing the do as such. But we inadvertently cap people's authenticity all throughout life until you get to that point when, for me, it's that point of enough is enough. Like, I'm sick of hiding these parts of me. I'm fed up of feeling like I never fit in, or I'm sick of wearing the masks, or whatever it is for everybody, their experience of just doing the unlearning and learning to be themselves in this world that will have you want to copy influencers and show your best self on socials and all that jazz. Learning to be yourself is the bravest thing that you can do, and showing up in the world as your authentic self, all your weird and wonderfulness, the light stuff, the dark stuff, and just being.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. You can't see this because you can only hear us, but behind Helen's head in her wonderful wooden office is a sign that says, do what makes you happy. Now, the biggest two words in that is do. If there was one thing that we could remove from the world to help people be their authentic selves, it's the word don't. How many times do we tell a child don't? How many times do we tell each other don't? If we just flipped that, if we took away the word don't and replaced it even with what if, what a difference it would make. Don't get me wrong, there's certain incidences where things are unsafe and they need to be explained. But a lot of our life is learning how to fit in, learning how to disguise ourselves in the school of fish, when actually our greatest gift is that every single one of us is different. In fact, the only thing that we have that's exactly the same is that we're all human. Everything else is tiny little differences. The world isn't designed for you to be your weird and wonderful self, but it's getting there. And every time you said, you know what, I'm going to show up as I am today. And just like we say with every episode, that's going to be different every day. Because some days your authentic self is going to be a happy little being of light. Other days your authentic self will be the complete opposite and rhymes. You won't be a very great being of light. You might be a little bit grumpy. And that's okay. Go on, Helen, what are you going to say there?
A grumpy little rat bag.
A grumpy little rat bag. I love that. And the thing is, Helen and I are about the real things. So being your authentic self isn't wearing that orange green unicorn dress and the hairband that glitters. It isn't wearing dark makeup and dark hair. That might be an expression of your inner artist. There is nothing wrong with that. But being your authentic self is not what you wear. It's not how you look. It's how you behave and how you approach the world. Your authenticity is your actions and your behavior. And this is where Helen and I quite often irk and trigger a few, because we don't do the sexy. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it, and we love that side of things. I love to get my crazy on with my clothes. Helen's hair is orange, but that isn't us being our authentic self. That's us using our body and our clothes as outward art. I'm going to hand you over to Helen to have a little explore of that also.
Thanks. I didn't know where you were going with this sexy thing there. Just hanging on the edge of my seat. I'm really honest. I think that's it. I think exactly what Lisa was just saying there. And for me, it always comes back down to being the best version of ourselves in that moment. And it's being the best version of ourselves, not trying to be somebody else. Because I'm not sure if you would agree, but for me, this world that we live in is constantly trying to pull us down in one way or another. And we've had this for years. Like when I was growing up, it was like supermodels or people on the front of magazines. Now it's Instagram influencers. And I genuinely look at my daughter and think, like, I hope she doesn't look up to these filtered Instagram influencers and compare herself to something that's not real. But maybe that's something that we all go through in life. It's just different in each generation. I don't know. But in a world that's constantly showing us unrealistic expectations every single day, continuously, I get why we wouldn't feel not good enough. I get why being our authentic self wouldn't feel enough. However, what I would say to you is that who else in this world can be you better than you? Because nobody else knows what feels right for you. Nobody else knows what feels aligned for you. Nobody else knows what feels real for you. And when you follow them feelings, when you follow your intuition, when you follow that feeling of what feels right, what feels aligned, what feels good, for me, that's when you can truly start being your authentic self and following that and showing up in the world as your authentic self, doing what feels authentically you. And it is going inwards, it is connecting to you, because we can spend all day looking at mentors and coaches and influencers, and how do I be more like them? When actually, you just need to be more you. And maybe it's that you like the idea of the lifestyle that they've got. Maybe it's that you want to get your hands on that kind of job role. And that's okay. But there's a big difference between wanting to achieve the things that somebody else has achieved and wanting to be somebody else. And I think there has to come a point where we learn to be really accepting and okay with ourselves, all the parts, the ugly parts, the sexy parts, the light, the dark, and then make a life that's really aligned, and then be like, that's the kind of job I want, their job looks amazing, or whatever that is. But it's in you, it's doing you still. It's never about becoming somebody else, it's just about becoming more you. It's about connecting deeper to you and showing that more to the world. And I don't know, maybe, well, I definitely sense it when you meet somebody who's genuine and real authentic. You feel that, you know that. And equally, when you meet somebody who is the total opposite, you get them vibes too. And for me, I can only dream of a world where we all just show up as our authentic self.
100%. And it's funny because I spent a large part of my life feeling quite miserable, depressed, anxious, and feeling like I didn't belong anywhere and I didn't fit in. I was on the edge of life. And at the time, I was stuck in the victim narrative and was like, people are making me feel like an outcast. And to a certain degree, sometimes people would go out of their way to kind of keep me on the fringe of their little world, because I've always been weird. I've always been a bit strange. But equally, in trying to hide that, I completely robbed myself from having amazing relationships and a life filled with people who were on my vibratory sequence, signatory, whatever you want to call it, people who were my people, because I wasn't being me. I was trying to be what I thought the world wanted. And that comes into a lot of programming and people pleasing and things like that, which is for another show. We could do a whole show on people pleasing, but responsibility is a theme again that will run through most of the shows that Helen and I do, because when you are not your authentic self, when you are doing things in service of others, and I don't mean healthy service, I mean in trying to be liked, in trying to be loved, in trying to fit into a world you weren't designed to fit into, you rob yourself of the most amazing experiences and the most amazing people, because they can't find you, because they don't know who you are when you aren't showing who you are.
I think that's so important because, and it reminds me of what's them parties called where everyone wears masks? Masquerade party.
Mask balls, yeah, like masquerades, yeah, masquerade.
It reminds me of that when I think about this topic, because I think nobody truly knows what we're hiding behind our masks. And for me, the connections that you kind of make are passing, the fleeting, because you don't see the real, you don't know the truth, and then sometimes people take their masks off and they're much more beautiful than you could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when we wear the masks, we're preventing others from seeing our true beauty, but we're also not giving that to the world. And there was a reason that I read a stat the other day, and it said, and this, I might be quoting this wrong right now off the top of my head, but I think there's 1 in a 400 trillion chance that any of us were even born.
Wow.
Never mind the fact that we would be born exactly where we are, we would meet the exact people that we met, that you would be listening to this show right now, that me and Lisa would even be talking to each other right now. Like, think about the statistical chance of that. And to have that shocked and spend our lives wearing a mask or hiding who we truly are, like, that blows my mind. And I just feel like maybe you don't know who you truly are. Maybe you need to do the work and connect, and that's cool. That's okay. But if you know who you are, if you are comfortable and confident with who you are, and you're still hiding that, my question to you would be why?
Yeah. And there was, I shared it on Facebook the other day. I can't remember who to credit for it, but there was a post that said, this is just that millions or billions of light workers have incarnated into this moment in time. And they haven't done that to conform and go with the fear and the scary side of the world. They've done that to make waves, to make change. And the only way that we can do that is by being our absolute, true, authentic selves and doing what we came here to do. And it's a process. So we all have to go through those stages in life where we try to fit in. But there comes a time where you've got to think, who am I if I'm not me? Who am I if I'm not me? Write that down. Ponder that question. I'll do it myself because my authentic self is ever evolving. It's fluid. It's transitionary. It changes like the wind.
I think that's important because one of our basic human needs to thrive is growth, and who I was at the core of me, my true authentic self, has probably tweaked over the years, like on a soul level. I still feel it's me, but then I feel like we can have soul growth too, and I just feel like we have to be okay with staying in touch with ourselves, having that level of self-awareness, being cool with the shadow stuff that shows up, and all of it. Like, I could actually talk about this forever because there's so many different elements of it, but it's the growth, and only by becoming self-aware and connected to self and showing up in each moment in every day as our authentic self in that moment. Like, when I look back to probably when me and you first met, Lisa, although we are the same people, our growth and our authenticity appears very different each day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's magical. Like, that's not a bad thing. That's not about being I don't know, having like just not being in our autonomy, or we just growing. We face life's challenges and it shapes us, and our authentic self will be very different over the years if we allow it to be, but we have to allow it.
Yeah, it's so funny when you said that because it made me think of Only Fools and Horses. And, I can't profess to be an absolute Only Fools and Horses buff. But I think it's Trigger's brush. And they go on about how he's had the brush for like 40 or 50 years. And actually it turns out that he's had however many new heads and however many new handles. So actually everything about the brush has changed, but it's still Trigger's brush. As we go through life, everything about us changes with our experiences and how we view the world, but we're still us at our core. Like, even our human body, there are probably, I don't think there's anything in my human body, bar maybe my bones, I don't know enough about how the bones work, but certainly our skin and our hair and our nails, and none of it is the same as it was 15 years ago because we've shed it all and it's regenerated. So we're just like Trigger's broom, but our core, even though everything has changed, we're still us. On a soul level, we're still us. Yeah, a bit of a random link there, but it just kept being shown to me. So somebody needed to hear that we're just like Trigger's broom. And it's probably not even called Trigger.
So nobody will know what you mean. But yeah, no, I think that's great, and I think it's a great analogy, and I think that that's it. I think there's a big difference, and I think we need to understand this between being our authentic self and putting ourselves in a box. Because
Yes.
my authentic self, like I've just said, from I don't know, even when I think back to 3-4 years ago, was so different. Now imagine if when I recognize I'm not being authentic or I'm wearing a mask and I kind of stepped into authenticity and I was like, this is me, I'm here, I've arrived, and I kind of wore that like a badge of honor and I just was that for the rest of my life. That's not authentic.
Yes.
That's not growing from life's challenges. That's not thriving and being ambitious and motivated and having achievements and letting it shape me. That's putting myself in a box. So I think it's important that we mention that differentiation here between being authentic in each moment and letting wherever life take us shape us, and owning that authenticity at every single stage in every single moment as best we can, and not just kind of getting in a box and being like, this is the way I am, this is who I am, because that's not being authentic.
100%. And I'm going to give you my little advice and tips for how to be in your authentic self. And then I'm going to throw you over to Helen and let her do exactly the same. And there may be similarities between both of us, and there may be little differences. And that's okay. Leading into my authentic self, how do I do that? First and foremost, I check in with my body. How does how I'm behaving or what decision I'm making feel in my body? How does that feel? Does it feel good? Or is there a disalignment there? If there's a disalignment, then I'll have one of two choices: ignore it and take the action anyway, or do something about it. Where is my action, thought, belief coming from? Is it coming from ego, wanting to be right, wanting to be better? Or is it coming from being? Am I serving my highest good? Am I saying yes, but my body's saying no? Am I challenging behavior of myself and of others that is not helpful, that doesn't serve? So as much as I can, and this is not me going about doing this all day, it wouldn't be possible, but as much as I can, that's me questioning, where does this sit in my body? How does it feel? This action that I'm going to take, this taking on of someone else's words or what someone wants me to do, does it serve me in my highest good? If not, what am I going to do about it? 3 things that I just do to check in with my authenticity. And I'll hand you over to Helen so that she can give you a little tidbit about hers.
I think for me, and I was sorry, Lisa, I was trying not to listen to what you were sharing there, so get influence.
I totally get it. I should have given it to you first, but I didn't want to put you on the spot. I'd be like, I'm going to throw you over to Helen and she'll give you her.
No, it's cool. I know that we quite often have similar views on things, and
yeah,
I don't want to be repetitive. And equally, we're very different too. So I thought I'm just going to kind of try zone out so that I don't hear what Lisa's rabbiting on about, and then what I bring is fresh from me. And I was actually just thinking there that probably more so now, because I feel like I have been doing this for a while, that I feel like I make choices that are aligned to me most of the time, and I live in alignment most of the time, that actually it's probably only when I'm wearing a mask that I recognize that feeling of, I want to say, uncomfortableness in my gut area. And sometimes I genuinely ask myself, am I wearing a mask here? And Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it's for safety. Sometimes it's to protect myself. Sometimes it's to protect my energy. Sometimes it's because it feels like the right thing, whether that's a intuitive message, whether that's a human scared moment, I don't know. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with sometimes wearing a mask. What I'm not okay with is living with a mask on. So when I have an opinion or an urge, an inspiration, when I want to tell somebody that their shoes are gorgeous or whatever it is, just doing that, doing the thing that feels right. And for me, that's my differentiation between living in alignment and being authentic is the feelings that what feels right and what feels like in my tummy. And I think that we would be failing you to talk about authenticity so simply. This is genuinely practice. This is genuinely something that requires work. Is that work worth it? Yes, to live in utter freedom of being myself because nobody else is me, and to recognize that in the world and recognize that that is my superpower, like it's your superpower. Yes, it's worth the work, but it wouldn't be fair of us to kind of give you this topic and be, yo, go be yourself, because that's not real. And one thing me and Lisa are is we're real, and we want you to do the work because we know that feeling of freedom, of liberation, of reward that comes with it. But that's not to say that I don't sometimes wear a mask. And that's me being open and honest. But I'm really accepting the moments that feel right for me to wear a mask.
Beautifully put and beautifully explained. Absolutely. And what a great question to ask yourself. Am I wearing a mask? And if so, what am I wearing it for? And that's a beautiful place to end. Thank you so much once again for joining us on the Red Sisterhood Movement Show. I know that Helen has had the exact same thing as me today as we've done this one, where lots of little light bulbs have gone off of, oh, we'll talk about this and this and this in future episodes. So lots more to tune in for. But that's bye for me. And I'll let you say bye too, Helen.
See you soon.
Bye.